Often titled the father of comedy, Aristophanes is the oldest surviving comedic playwright. As profound as vulgar, his plays reveal ancient Athenian values, ideology, and controversies. Jeering at and referencing sex, gender, religion, politicians, history, other playwrights, and morality, he is now, perhaps, even more irreverent and funny than ever before. Aristophanes Wasps, Beyond Good and Evil. This play begins with two servants, Sosias and Xanthias, fighting sleep as they guard the entrance to their master's house. The first joke occurs as the two men tell each other about their dreams. Xanthias makes fun of a stereotypical homosexual and Sosias, at least in part, pokes fun at Cleon. Remember that Cleon is the populist politician that Aristophanes has fought in his previous works. Xanthias then directs himself to the audience and exposes the initial plot of the play. It turns out that their master has
an addiction to jury work, like you wouldn't believe. Sitting in judgment is his passion, and he moans if he can't perch on the front bench. He's terrified of running out of voting pebbles and stocks a whole beachful in the house. That's how wacky he is, and the more we reason with him, the more cases he hears. That's why we've bolted him in and stand on guard, so he doesn't escape, for his son is really worried about his malady.
It is important to know that the Athenian legal or justice system was quite different from what now exists in modern-day so-called democracies. This is an area of argument. I think such a system had, at least, some noticeable superiorities. What is relevant to know is that their trials required hundreds of jurors. What is more, these were paid a small wage as compensation of their service. Therefore, older, retired, men made a habit and almost profession out of jury duty. Explaining why exactly there was a need for so many more jurors, how this worked, and what were the consequences, benefits, of this system would require far too long of a digression. No sooner do the servants finish their explanation, at the end of which they mention that the house has been covered with a netting to make sure Philocleon cannot escape, that his son, Bdelycleon, shouts that his father is attempting to climb the chimney. When asked, the prisoner answers that he is no more than smoke itself coming out. His son pushes him down, and so the father tries pushing the exit door. He refuses to rescind his efforts to escape, as he says,
"The oracle at Delphi told me that if ever I acquitted anyone, I'd disintegrate."
So, he is not only obsessed with judging, but also with finding guilt and blame. This has to be one of the main themes of the play. I believe Aristophanes is making fun of valuations, especially moral valuations. I opine that moral valuations are a sign of lacking certain mental capacities, such as introspection, extrospection, or perhaps simply abstract reasoning. Unfortunately, as with explaining what is true democracy, this is not the time or place for such a discussion. Returning to the play, the servants and the son notice a donkey leaving the premises, and they go catch it. Bdelycleon inspects it and says,
"No Odysseus clamped to your underside?"
Hold on a minute. There is, someone is tucked up underneath.
Surely not. Let me see. Well, I'm damned. So, tell us, who on earth are you?
Nobody. That's the truth.
You will remember from the Odyssey that Ulysses and some of his companions escaped the Cyclops by hiding under the belly of some sheep. I thought it was funny. Xanthias wishes to sleep, but Bdelycleon warns that his father's juror friends will soon arrive to set free their prisoner. All three try, but fail, to stay awake. As they sleep, the chorus of jurymen enter the scene. Like Bdelycleon described, these are large wasps, with hornets on their backs which they can swing under their legs to stab or prick anyone that is in front of them. At this point, plays in Athens were becoming more and more extravagant in production values, mainly costumes and settings, though this is not yet the peak of such things. The wasps or chorus are accompanied by some youth, their children. In an interchange, one of the children asks his father to please purchase him some figs, and the father refuses because they are poor. He mentions that if there was no court case on that day, they would not be able to eat at all. Aristophanes will return to this subject. For now, let it be known that the exchange foreshadows, arguably, the most constructive socio-political critique of the play. Going back to the story, the wasps advise Philocleon to chew through the net that covers his house. Bdelycleon and Xanthias wake up. They enter an argument with the chorus leader, and Xanthias jocularly expresses his fear of the wasp stingers. Eventually, the chorus of wasps attacks the son and his servant, but these manage to drive them off with the use of smoke pouring from a cooking pot. Finally, the father and son agree to have a debate. The winner will concede to the other's wishes. Philocleon speaks first. He argues or points out all the perks associated with being a juror. Among these, he makes the curious remark that
when boys are paraded for registration, we get a good look at their dicks.
As he speaks, the son interjects that in truth jurors are tools, they are someone else's slaves. The father defends himself, indicating that he gets paid. He describes with jocular pleasure how his wife and children all tend to him with care after he is served in a trial because they wish to get part of the money. When it is Bdelycleon's time to speak, he begins with,
It's a difficult and tricky business trying to cure a city with a chronic and long-ingrained disease well beyond the brain cells of a comic.
I found this sentence worthy of record. Long story made short, Bdelycleon argues that Athens is in fact very wealthy, not the least of which because of the tribute the city collects from its, at least in part, forced allies. Yet, the total amount that is spent on the juror's salary is but a small fraction of the city's revenue. It should suffice to make clear, as the interchange between the child and the chorus insinuates, the Athenian juror system also served the function of a welfare system. Allow me to clarify, unlike Sparta, in Athens there was plenty of wealth inequality. The economic condition of each city easily leads to the impression or claim that one was capitalist and the other communist. I have to remark it because people like Plato or Thucydides often denounce Athenian or true democracy as a tyranny of the poor, but a discussion about this subject would launch far too long of a digression. When Philocleon asks where the rest of the city's revenue is being spent, Bdelycleon denounces the war effort as wasteful and filled with corruption. What is more, at one point, the son says to the father,
Slavery? Not half? To have all these parasites and their relatives holding office and given grants, while you thank high heaven for 3 miserable obols earned by sweat and grunts, rowing, campaigning, besieging.
It must be said, this is particularly disheartening in our own day. In the present age, such an accusation couldn't be more valid. In ancient democracies, there was far less nepotism and far more popular rule than at any other time in human history. One can only wonder what the likes of Aristophanes would say about the military, economic, and political conditions of present-day so-called democracies. After all, unlike our present condition, the ancient Athenians elected their generals. No government official had the power to pass laws, and these were for the most part randomly selected. That is, money, class, even charisma and irrelevant attributes did not play a role in the process. Their system was certainly an order of magnitude fairer than ours. Of course, fairness is an epistemological construct without any objective solidity, but this is all a digression. As Philocleon is being convinced, Bdelycleon sounds as a modern-day Bernie Sanders or Roosevelt or real socialist.
You could be really wealthy, everyone else too, but somehow so-called democracy has got you on strings. Master of cities from Sardis to the Black Sea. That's you, but what good does it do except for that miserable fee you get for being jury? Just enough to keep you well, but also to keep you poor, and I'll tell you why. They want to make sure you play ball with your master trainer, and the moment he blows his whistle for an attack, you'll fall upon some poor fellow like a savage. As for providing a living wage for everyone, there's no need for any lack.
Aristophanes is often branded as a political conservative. Yet, he is certainly, to our standards, not a social conservative, and as for his politics, well, he is an aristocrat and does criticize the people's champion, Cleon, yet this argument is in favor of the lower class. To me, he does not seem conservative in any way. Bdelycleon convinces his father and the chorus of wasps. These beg Philocleon to listen to his son and heed his advice. The old man, however, does not want to abandon the profession of being a jury, so his son proposes that he adjudicate justice in his own household. He may distribute justice to his servants. After a couple of jokes, the father agrees. Bdelycleon brings in all the things to stage a trial, including a caged rooster to wake the juror, as is often needed in real trials. LOL. They decide to hold a trial over 2 dogs. These are named Chion, which sounds like the politician Cleon, and Labes, which is similar to Laches, a general that was accused of corruption. The first dog is accusing the latter of
assaulting a Sicilian cheese, which, without sharing, he swallowed. Proposed penalty: a collar of fig wood.
Philocleon shouts.
Nonsense! A dog's death if he's convicted.
I am not sure if real dogs were used to stage this. They might have been. In the play titled Birds, they would have used real birds at one point. Before hearing the defendant, Philocleon is ready to convict. Yet, the kitchen's utensils testify on behalf of Labes. Yes, various walking and talking utensils enter the scene. There is an appeal to pity, cuteness, and the cherished nobility of a house dog. I imagine this would play very nicely with any audience at any time in history. At the end, Philocleon says,
Good Lord! Am I going soft? Something's coming over me, switching my mind.
Bdelycleon responds,
Now, Papa, I beg you. Have a heart, be kind, and don't destroy him. Where are his puppies?
The dog's cute puppies are brought in, and Bdelycleon continues.
Step up here, you little cuties. Whine, whimper, crawl.
With nervousness and anxiety, the father casts his vote of acquittal. The vote is counted, the single vote that is. Bdelycleon throws himself on the ground as jocularly he cannot believe that he actually let a defendant go free. His son assuages him, and they both go into the house together. This whole sequence really makes me smile. Then the chorus sings the Parabasis, in which Aristophanes complains about other poets and playwrights, praises himself, and scolds the audience for not preferring him or giving him enough honors. Then the leader of the chorus scolds the whole of Athenian society, claiming a change from praiseworthy military attitude to obsession with litigation and court in a species of perpetual civil conflict. Father and son return along with their servant Xanthias. The youth manages to convince his father to change his moth-eaten cape for a more luxurious one. I do not quite understand why this point is made. What is the metaphor here? Had the supporters of Cleon made a virtue out of their destituteness? I also find confusing how the son makes the father put on some Spartan shoes. These would be simple, useful, not luxurious shoes. Either way, it is funny how Philocleon complains.
It's a crime to make me set a foot on enemy soul. Not this foot, please. Very anti-laconic is one of the toes.
Then the son has the father practice walking in a rich swagger. Likewise occurs with his manner of speaking. The son asks,
But can you converse seriously with educated and intelligent men?
Educated and intelligent men like Cleon. The insinuation is that Cleon is a fanciful elitist. One imagines this to be a very effective criticism, as the politician presented himself as a leader of the common people. A wealthy elitist playing the role of a populist. I have to say that in a real democracy, as in ancient Athens, such an individual is naturally more limited. They cannot cause quite as much harm as in the typical oligarchy, so-called representative democracy. All characters attend a get-together over the house of a certain Philocleon. This name is further proof of my analysis. I should make clear the father's name literally means lover of Cleon, while the son's name means hater or opposer of Cleon. This new name, Philocleon, translates to lover of wealth or consumerism. The chorus sings, making fun of Cleon's attempts to sue Aristophanes until, in panic, Xanthias enters the scene. He says,
Tortoises, how blessed you are, how clever to invest your backs with shell. You won't believe it. That old man turned out to be the most drunk and disorderly of the party bar none.
Xanthias describes how Philocleon insulted the company, got drunk, smacked people, and stole one of the dancing girls. The man then arrives with the naked girl in his grasp and a crowd of angry victims following him behind. At this point, a reversal, at least seemingly, of the valuation or moralization formerly expressed occurs.
You'll certainly have to answer for this tomorrow, dashing young prodigy though you think you are. We'll all be in court with summonses and complaints.
To hell with summonses. How prehistoric can you be? Talk of lawsuits makes me sick. You know what I'd like? To smash the voting urns. Is that a judge I see? Give me a stick.
Most edgy, Philocleon offers his giant fake phallus that all male characters had to the dancing girl he has stolen. He tells her that she is indebted to his penis as he stole her and hid her just before she had to start sucking all the guests. He continues encouraging her to pretend true desire. Soon enough his son finds him, calls him a pussy stuffer. Several funny remarks are made about the female body. In the end, the father strikes the son. What ensues is sort of the opposite of clouds. Various characters appear accusing the father. In response, he mocks the accusers and the entire idea of the law. All the while the dutiful son tries to smooth his father's vice. It must be admitted, perhaps Aristophanes is mocking the lower classes. He might be saying that the supporters of Cleon are uncivilized and therefore law is needed to keep them in check. However, would this claim not be a support of authoritarianism or populism? Furthermore, consider how, to end the play, the comedian mocks a now lost, but clearly conservative, poet named Carcinus. Yes, Philocleon insinuates that Carcinus and his children are rigid crabs, incapable of dancing. Meaning, it is not clear to me that Philocleon is deplored. He truly has become a more fun and happier person. The chorus expresses envy and simply asks the audience to dance along. I really like this play. It is perhaps my favorite of Aristophanes. On this channel you may learn about all of Aristophanes' plays, such as the famous Lysistrata, or Birds, or Frogs. Don't miss them.
Although they are more costly, enemies are often better teachers than friends.
If you enjoy or gain from my aphorisms, know that I have thousands. I will be writing books with short thematic essays composed out of aphorisms. These essays are profound and intriguing yet easy to read. For very cheap copies, look up Protagoras Pause in the Amazon website. I repeat, Protagoras Pause, that's my name.